What'd you say you played?
Folk songs.
Folk songs. Solo act?
No, I had a partner. Threw himself off the George Washington Bridge.
George Washington Bridge? You throw yourself off the Brooklyn Bridge, traditionally. George Washington Bridge. Who does that?
If I had wings like Noah's dove, I'd fly the river.
Explain the cat.
What's its name? I don't know.
It's the Gorfin's cat.
It slipped out and I don't have the key.
My honey, fare thee well.
Don't tell Jim.
Oh!
Obviously.
Well, I had a man strong and tall. He moved his body like a cannonball. Well, fare thee well.
Mel, there was no advance on my solo record. There's gotta be some royalty. For Christ's sake, it's cold out. I don't even have a winter coat.
You're kidding me. Take this kid.
No.
I remember one evening in the pouring rain, and in my heart.
Do you ever think about the future at all?
You mean like flying cars? Hotels on the moon? Tang?
I want you to leave. Get out of here.
Danny, your uncle's a bad man.
Okay.
So show us a bird flying high above. Life ain't worth living without the one you love. Fare thee well, my honey, fare thee well.
I'm interested in gigging here.
Okay, let's hear something.
You don't want to hear the record?
Why should I? You're here. Play me something.
Play me something from inside Llewyn Davis.
Fare thee well.
Okay.
Hello, welcome to Movie Umpers. I'm Bob Sham.
I'm Angela.
And the sounds you hear are probably dogs. Things that sound like someone's throwing cinder blocks at the side of the house. Sounds like that. Growling, arguing. We say that they argue. Our dogs argue with each other. It's exhausting. They wake me up
so much.
So our theme this month, assholes on film. The asshole on film. And this week we've hit some real assholes.
Yeah, we have.
One is maybe like beyond asshole, just a straight up murderer.
Yes.
And so that's kind of just weird, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I think that John Wayne Gacy's a real jerk. I'm sorry. I hope I'm not offending anybody. Yes, and Sword of Doom. I also had to re-upload Sword of Doom multiple times because certain international movies, especially in Asia, are a lot more strict on the copyright strikes. So I've had to do that with movies from India and movies from Japan.
I mean, we're going to keep watching those movies, so we're going to keep dealing with this. But also, we're promoting that movie.
I mean,
I don't understand it. I'll never understand it.
I couldn't present to YouTube that claim to be like, look, this is a review.
That's just a fucking hassle.
Exactly. So I'll just have to put on some image that blocks some of the image to. It's not ideal, but you do what you got to do.
Yeah.
I've had to mute things before.
Yeah.
But on this theme, we're getting to the asshole, the artist asshole.
Yeah, the artist asshole. That is exactly what this is.
The starving artist asshole.
Yeah.
And we're discussing, I've seen most every Coen Brothers movie, but this is the first time we've gotten to this one. We're talking about Inside Llewyn Davis from 2013, and we got deep inside Llewyn Davis.
We sure did.
We were inside Llewyn Davis, and it felt so good.
It was okay.
This is a Coen Brothers movie from 2013, written by the Coen Brothers, starring Oscar Isaac in his breakout role. You'll remember he's Poe Dameron from the new Star Wars movies.
I didn't
You
recognize
just now
him.
realize that. He's also the Moon Knight, right?
Oh, yeah, I saw that
And
too.
that shitty series.
That was terrible.
Yeah, that sucked. Also, we got Carey Mulligan, John Goodman, Justin Timberlake. Adam Driver makes an appearance. Mm-hmm. And it's about the folk sing in Greenwich Village in the early 60s.
Yeah.
And, we're used to some period pieces from the Coen Brothers, especially those centered around, music and stuff and styles. And Oh Brother, Where Art Thou was one that comes to mind. Mm-hmm. That was more of like a super clowny, goofy movie. Almost like some weird Southern fable that's just pure comedy.
That's exactly what it felt like.
And this is also pretty much a comedy, I think.
This movie, though, I know it's set in the 60s. It could have been today. I think. I mean, the way that people dressed and talked, and I don't know, it didn't seem that like rooted in that time.
You mean like if it was concentrated on a very hipster subset of people?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes. I mean, isn't this?
I suppose so. But they were also embodying the time. Like a lot of women were wearing glasses, wearing cat eye glasses and shit. And that was just more common.
Yeah.
But but you'll notice that there was no real the story takes place in the winter.
Yes.
And there's no direct. It doesn't feel like there's any direct sunlight that isn't through a cloud.
No, because it's always like New York and Chicago.
Yeah.
Too.
And going across the Midwest and shit like that. And we're not gonna go beat by beat through this movie. I don't think it serves the discussion in this case.
No.
But it is interesting because this movie kind of circles around on itself a bit. Sometimes I get my proportions are weird on my pictures. And why not fix it in the middle of the recording? So, yeah, this guy, Llewyn Davis, he used to be in a duo. And we find out later that his partner, almost like a Simon and Garfunkel thing.
Yeah.
But we find out later his partner jumped off a bridge.
Yeah.
And he's very much, he's an interesting character because he is an asshole, as he admits himself multiple times.
Absolutely.
And as multiple people tell him in the movie. But he's not without a little bit of heart.
No, and he's definitely damaged.
And also, yeah, and he's certainly damaged, but also he's trying to make it in an industry that is also collectively like an asshole.
Yeah.
He's like a asshole. I mean, he's a product of his New York upbringing, and he's also, been jerked around in this music industry business system. And what's interesting is we're not really sure if he really has changed that much by the end of the movie.
I don't think he has.
And we actually get the movie is bookended with a scene that we start with the scene at the ending.
Yes.
And and it's true, he's really not much different.
No.
At the end of the movie at all. He's just a guy that, and he doesn't even quote unquote make it.
No. As
far as we know. But the environment of where he's coming from, the genre that he's working in, it does allude that is about to change.
Yes. But what's interesting is it didn't even really occur to me that the first scene was a flashback until we were seeing that scene for a second time. Because he is such an asshole at the beginning and still at the end, that it's totally believable that he's getting his shit kicked out of him in an alley. Mm. It just is.
Yeah, which he did because he heckled some lady singing.
He was rude.
That was way rude, of course.
That was a real asshole thing to do.
So I go.
Where's your hay bale?
1,000 miles. The storms are
Where's your corn cob pies?
on the ocean.
Are you wearing gingham panties? Huh?
He would probably blame it on the fact that he was drunk, which he blames a lot of things on.
Llewyn Davis, he's trying to cut it in the solo career. He just cut a record called Inside Llewyn Davis.
He doesn't have a place to live. He has a sister that he crashes with occasionally. He has these friends, Gene and Jim.
Yeah,
that
who are a duo.
Sleeps on their couch a whole lot. He has sex with Gene, but apparently Gene has sex with everybody.
Jim and Gene, we got a good crowd. You know why, Llewyn? A lot of these guys, a lot of them come in here catch the act because they want to fuck Gene. That's why they come in.
Yeah, and Jim may or may not be gay.
And some of these guys, Llewyn, they come in here because they want to fuck Jim. They want to fuck Jim. Know what I mean?
You mean they want to fuck Jim?
Exactly.
I think Jim is at least swinging.
Yeah.
Jim is playing the field.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
And she's pregnant, and she doesn't know who the father is, but she's got to get an abortion.
Because she said if she knew for sure it was Jim's, she would keep it, but the chance that it could be Llewyn's means she has to get rid of possibly a perfectly good baby. That's what she said. Those were her words.
It's funny because he knows the guy to do the abortions.
Yeah.
And when he goes in and to pay, the abortion doctor is like, no, you've already paid because the Diane thing didn't work out. And he's like, what are you talking about?
And he's like, yeah, the girl that came in like 2 years and 9 months ago who paid for her abortion
decided to keep her baby.
And he then at that moment realizes he's a dad of a 2-year-old that he's never going to meet.
No. When he gets on that road trip, he's in Chicago, then he's not. It kind of time passes very quickly.
It only has a couple of days. Like he comes back to town and he's like, hey, yeah, Jean, how did it go with the abortion? And she's like, I'm going on Saturday. And he's like, oh yeah, I feel like I've been gone a long time, but it's only been a couple of days. Like he even says that, like the acknowledgement. The reason he goes to Chicago is because he's splitting gas money in a car where John Goodman's in the back. And you know what the biggest mistake in this movie? We did not hear John Goodman sing.
Oh, yeah.
He's a jazz singer.
Yeah.
And you didn't let me hear John Goodman sing.
We saw him flop out on heroin.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a jazz man. Now, yeah, he's bouncing around couches to couches. There's this one point where he goes to eat dinner on probably the nicest couple that shelters him.
Also,
and they have him, and he's lost their cat too because he's carried a cat around. And when he went to go, and he thinks he's found their cat after he's lost it, and he brings it. But at the end of this conflict, they discover that's not their cat. So that's why you may be seeing if you've seen the trailers, why he's not carrying a cat around the whole time. But the cat is almost like indicative of the futility of what he's trying to put together. Like he's barely hanging on to it, but this thing keeps trying to run away from him. And we see an orange cat, like 3 different orange cats by the end of the movie. The one from the people who are nice and let him stay. Then the one that he gets wrong.
He thinks it's their cat and he's going to take it back to them. And they're like, this is not my cat. So then he takes it on this road trip. And he abandons it. That's another asshole thing.
Well, what happens is it's John Goodman. He's the jazz man and who's very hilariously not into like the folk singer stuff.
He's totally making fun of Llewyn Davis. He calls him Elwyn or something.
He makes fun of him.
Solo act?
Yeah,
Now? Used to what? Work with a cat? Every time he'd play a C major, he'd puke a hairball?
I used to have a partner.
What happened?
Threw himself off the George Washington Bridge.
Well, I don't blame him. I couldn't take it either, having to play Jimmy Crack Corn every night.
Their driver, who's this quiet guy, gets arrested.
Poet.
Yeah, he gets arrested. So Llewyn and John Goodman's nodded off.
And there's
asleep.
no keys in the car.
And the guy who got arrested took the keys. So he's been carrying this cat that's been the wrong cat, but he's felt like he needs to carry it. And then he sees the cat just sitting in the seat, and then he leaves the cat with the sleeping John Goodman. We don't know what happened to the cat.
On the side of the
honestly.
highway. No, yeah.
Yeah. And there's another point later in the movie where he actually hits an orange cat with his car. And the cat limps off into the woods, and he stops and he sees it. What does that cat represent? Like
no idea.
His guilt, the stuff that he kind of is just hanging on his back.
Maybe.
When he's at that dinner scene, they try to get him to sing a song.
Yeah, they're like these rich kind of uptown folks, and he's their like slummy folk singer friend that they seem to. They always have some other guests at their house, and they want to show him off. They want him to perform.
Rightfully so. It's like, look, I'm not like a poodle. I'm not like. But they're insistent, so he starts singing a song that him and his old partner used to sing, and the wife of the couple
Lillian.
starts to sing in, and he freaks the fuck out.
Well, it's Mike's part.
Don't do that.
It's Mike's part.
I know what it is. Don't do that.
Maybe you want to be patient for one of the few people that are willing to put a roof over your head, but you do understand where he's coming from in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, that's before we even know yet that, I don't think we even know at that point that he's dead. Because they wait a long time to tell us that that's what happened. In Chicago, he goes to audition for this guy who, like, is a pretty big deal manager, I guess, and his manager's shit, and so he goes to audition for this guy, and the guy's like, I mean, you're you're fine, but I don't see you as a solo act. I see you in a group. And he's like, well, I used to have a partner. And he's like, you guys should get back together. And he goes, yeah, that's a great idea. And like walked away. And I actually at that moment was worried that he was going to then jump off of a bridge. I really thought that was going to happen for a second.
Yeah, he plays this song as heartfelt as he can from his record as the guy requests. And the guy, you know, just patiently listens and is like, I don't hear money in this.
I actually really love that they take the time to listen to an entire song. Like you take the time to really listen and you just watch him play this song and there's no like cutting to anything else. It's just he's singing this song. And every other song he sings, especially the one he sings at the end, is so heartfelt and meaningful. He chooses this song that's more of a storytelling. I mean, it's still poignant and it's still good, but it's not. He should have done something that bared his soul a little bit more.
But the one that's the most personable that we hear is the one that he sang with his partner.
It's beautiful.
So the Inside Llewyn Davis record is supposed to be him trying to break away from that.
But he can't.
And go forward, but they can't. Like, he can't break away emotionally, and the industry won't let him break away at the same time. There's a hilarious scene where Justin Timberlake is one half of this singing duo.
Yeah.
And
Jim and Gene.
Yeah, and they have him come in and sing this song, this dumbass fucking song called Please Mr. Kennedy.
Yeah.
And Adam Driver is there, and he's singing like the goofiest parts.
Nope. 1 second, please.
Please, Mr. Kennedy. I don't wanna go. Don't show me in the outer space. Oh, please, Mr. Kennedy. I don't wanna go. Don't show me in the outer space. I sweat when they stuff me in the pressure suits. Rubble, helmet, dashboard, and boots. Nowhere up there in gravity zero.
You know, he doesn't have much filter. He's not like considerate of, and he's like, who wrote this? And then Justin Timberlake's like,
I did.
And this is another thing that he does that's really stupid. Because he's such an asshole, he doesn't think forward.
No,
he has no like presence of mind. He thinks this song is stupid and he just wants his $200 right now. So the guy tells him 3 times, if you do independent contractor and we cut you a check for the recording session today, you don't get royalties.
Yeah.
Do you understand you're not going to get royalties? You're not going to get royalties. And he was like, I don't care. He needed money for the abortion.
He needed money that bad.
For the wife of the man who he just was singing with.
And of course, later, that couple who always take him in are like, oh, that Please Mr. Kennedy song is so hilarious.
You're going to make a ton of money off that, aren't you, kid? And he just goes,
royalties on that are going to be crazy. And when you hear this song, it's stupid as shit.
But you know that's the truth.
But as soon as they mention royalties, you're like, oh, this song's going to be a fucking hit, of course.
All over the radio, at every dance. The relationship between him and Jean is interesting to me. She's just angry all the time.
She's not much better than him.
No,
that's
kind of what I was going to say. Like, she's angry all the time. She has really no levels. The only nice thing she does to him is get him the gig at the end, which we end up finding out he's opening for Bob Dylan before Bob Dylan was really discovered.
Yeah.
The time is going to be there. The Times is going to be there to like hear him, I guess.
The times they are a-changin', you might say. It's Bob Dylan song.
So yeah, the assumption is, you know, this being like pre-Bob Dylan making it big, that yeah, you're right. It's about to go into this like place where they all could get more popular.
Yeah, the folk scene is at a place where, you know, fucking folk music is not nearly as popular now as it was then. But when Dylan comes on, he sets this environment that explodes from it. And then that's when a lot of these folk singers just start doing essentially bad Bob Dylan impressions.
Oh, sure.
There's so much bad impressions. But so you don't know, like maybe coming out of this, maybe Llewyn Davis does kind of pop off, riding on the wave that in which Dylan changed the environment.
The movie ends with him at a crossroads because before he played this show,
like old Robert Johnson,
he had decided.
He's a singer too.
Okay, he had decided that he was going to quit music and he was going to go back into working on a boat, merchant marine.
But he can't find his fucking license.
He can't find his license, so he's paid up his dues. He can't find his license. He has to play this gig to get the money to get a new license so he can leave like the next day. But you do kind of feel at the end that like he played like probably the greatest show of his life because he didn't care.
Yeah.
because it was the last show. He played the songs he loved the most, and he did a great job. So you know that the Times is going to give him a great review. You know he's not going to get on that boat. Like, he's going to probably open for Bob Dylan, but who knows?
Yeah.
He could also get on that boat and not know what the fuck happened.
I love this part where this is about the struggle within it. It's
Yeah.
about really someone who maybe has fallen through the cracks. It's not the story of like someone who finds like great fame. You can wonder what happens after the end. But it, like we said, he's the same person at the end as he was in the beginning. But he goes into his manager's office, who isn't very good. And the lady there hands him a box of like his records unsold. And so he's carrying this box around, and Adam Driver's character, who's also a folk singer, lets him stay at his place that night. And so he's got this box of all these records, and he's like, maybe I'll shove them under this table here.
And there's something already under
there's
the
something
table.
under there, and he pulls out a box, and it's a box full of Adam Driver's own unsold folk records.
Yep.
That's actually probably my favorite scene.
It was amazing.
That's just the level of humor in this movie, and it is very funny in that way. In a natural sense, he is an asshole, but he's probably the asshole that we'll most feel sorry for this month in a lot of ways.
I do agree with that. One of, I think, the best just tiny moments is near the end where he's decided he's going to go back, and he goes to his sister's house. Earlier, they fight all the time. The sister is very much like, I don't understand your artsy life. Don't cuss in my kitchen. You know, and he's like, you're so boring. And she's like, I'm living my life. Like, I have a life. I have a job. I have a kid. I have a family. Like, this is at my house. Like, you have nothing. Like, what are you talking about? So I kind of like understood her a little bit, but she expected more from him. She's like, go see your dad, like all that kind of stuff. When he goes back to like find his license, and she's thrown his stuff out because he told her to, but he's mad that she did what he told her to because she's supposed to somehow know. Yeah. And the kid is eating breakfast, and he cusses in front of the kid, and he looks at the kid and he's like, your uncle is a bad man. And the kid goes, okay.
Kid could care less. And that's what's like when he gets in the argument with the couple that houses him. He says something along the lines of, you wouldn't come into my house and do this. Or
I wouldn't invite you to my house and ask you to do a dissertation on whatever the fuck you teach.
Bro, you don't have a house. Yeah. You're relying on the existence of others, the domestication of others, to put a roof over your head. Yeah.
There's a time when he's supposed to fill out an address, and he writes nothing because there's nowhere. Yeah. He has nowhere.
There's nowhere to send a check. Mm-mm. And it's interesting to wonder what happens to him from there, because he's literally trying to get out of it because it's not working for him. But when he even tries to get out of it and it fails, it's really all he knows how to do, you know? So whether or not he's done with it, whether or not it's not good for him, this is it. This is all I can do. He goes to see his father at one point, and it's like he's seeing, you know, he says, it's like, I guess I see what the future is like. I wouldn't call it much of a black comedy. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but it is something that is just
there's some pretty dark stuff in there.
It is pretty dark, yeah. But literally also it's just dark and cloudy and gloomy throughout this whole movie. A lot of earth tony wear of the time. It's but yeah, it's struggle. The guy is an asshole, but you do kind of get it. And everyone around him is either an asshole or a weirdo. Yeah. So.
And the guy from Doogie Howser.
Yeah.
Who owns the bar, who also slept with Gene.
Yeah. I think that's about all there is to say about Inside Llewyn Davis. I mean, the Coen Brothers, they haven't really made a bad movie as far as I know. Mm-mm. And everything is always generally good. I feel like there's some here, like Hell Caesar, like I fucking love that movie.
I haven't seen that one.
But I feel like it's kind of middle of the road for a lot of people, but it's like an ensemble movie. Mm. You actually have seen it, you just don't remember.
Don't remember.
It's all right. I feel like I used to think I had a bad memory. And now if I really set myself against everyone I know, including you, I'm actually starting to think that I have a good memory. I think I do.
I think we all remember different things.
Yeah.
And also it depends on how young we were and how much under the influence we might have been.
Well, I will say that there are periods of my life that are vague. All right. Well, let's rate this movie. You give it 1 through 5. I'm going to give it 1 through 5 combined. Best out of 10.
Totally. I feel like this is a solid 4 for me.
Solid 4. I've been thinking that all day.
Yep.
This is the picture definition of a solid 4.
Absolutely.
So inside Llewyn Davis, the starving artist asshole.
It's an 8.
It's an 8. I'm going to put inside Llewyn Davis, under Manhunter, and above Rope.
Perfect.
Looky there, number 30. Yeah, we have done a lot of movies. We're very quickly closing in on our 100th episode.
Ooh, we're doing something special?
Well, based on the schedule I have set out, it will happen in October. And the one that is scheduled to be the 100th episode, we already pre-recorded.
Oh, no.
And we didn't do anything. But if I can remember, we can talk about it for the episode that we've yet to record that will drop after.
Okay.
But I'll go ahead and tell you what our 100th episode will be. A sneak preview. It will be The Frighteners.
Okay.
That will be our 100th episode.
Okay.
All right. And check the show notes for links and other places to find us. What do you think of this Coen Brothers movie? All of their movies are at least very good, I would say. How would you rate this? I really enjoyed, the look, the environment of the folk industry in the early 60s, kind of a very cynical environment, but you kind of, you feel bad for Llewyn Davis, but he also genuinely is like a fucking dick that makes everything harder for himself.
What's the N stand for? Did you love this? Do you own the soundtrack? Did you learn these?
We don't.
We don't. I'm asking the people at home.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll wait until they answer.
Sorry, I know you usually ask them the questions.
Like and subscribe. And
death to all traitors.